Okay, so we're gonna be reviewing Cimarron. Cimarron. It's a it's a it's a good film. I don't know. It's kind of interesting because it's about it's about a real place. I think it's a county called Cimarron. About It's mostly about this guy Yancey Jones's life. I don't know if he's a real guy. I haven't looked it up, but it's really interesting because it shows this guy, in his pioneering days all the way back, like when he died. And honestly, if we're talking about the autobiography kind of look, or not bio, it's kind of you know, people do movies about somebody's entire life instead of one event. And for that, it's actually pretty good. It's well paced. It feels like, oh, we're going into the next thing. Everything is smoothly translates into the next thing. Before you know it, he's dead, and it's crazy. And honestly, I find it really interesting, kind of the idea of back then. I thought it was just going to be a Western, but it was more about a guy just kind of coming into his own about in the new town of Oklahoma and Kansas. You know what I mean? And it's kind of interesting how this whole how they bring so many, there's a courtroom scene and there's other things, and it's kind of interesting. It is kind of interesting. And I will say that there are lots of good things about the movie, but is it a great movie? I don't know. I guess it's because it came out in the 30s, so I shouldn't judge it by modern standards, but I'm gonna, because it's kind of hard not to, and I'm supposed to be looking back on these films. There are some racist parts in there, and I think that, although I guess he is kind of a nice guy, because he tries to, help the Native Americans or Indians. And I, I think that's kind of interesting. And there are some interesting scenes in it. But honestly, it just is it feels really melodramatic and kind of boring. But there are a lot of good things, and now me looking back on it, I say I enjoyed some parts of the film, but I didn't enjoy it a lot. So I think I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Although I would recommend it to people that are fan of classic films and westerns, because it is kind of a new spin on it, the idea, because it's more of just a guy trying to fit into society. And it even, towards the end of the movies, it's in the 20s, so but it's kind of interesting. So there, if you're into that kind of thing, there you go.